Okay, this video is called Liars Club, the high-fat phonies, and they're a club full of liars. McDougall used to call them a bunch of liars. I'm calling them a bunch of liars too. Remember what McDougall said. McDougall said, don't even talk to me about nutrition or try to debate me on anything until you have read Kempner and Pritikin. That's the basic introductory level. And I would tell you, if you want to know the truth, study Kempner, study Pritikin, study McDougall. Go watch the videos over at VegSource with Jeff Nelson. Okay, he's done extensive videos on all the problems with nuts and omega-3s and why they're a joke. Okay, go read Esselstyn. Okay, now Esselstyn, the way I see Esselstyn and Campbell, you know, the public thinks, oh, if you do something great, that means you're really smart. No, not necessarily. It means, sometimes it means the person's really smart. McDougall was a genius, okay? So was Kempner, and so was Pritikin, okay? And so am I. But what I'm trying to say is a lot of great achievements are not from genius. They're from courage. They're from wanting to do something heroic, from sticking to something when you know you're right. Okay, like Esselstyn. I don't think Esselstyn's a genius. I think Esselstyn's a bit of a one-trick pony. But he, I think, was trying to redeem himself. He knew that, you know, chopping off women's breasts really was a pretty overrated thing. It didn't help him that much. And then he, you know, does his reading and he notices, gee, people who eat low-fat plant-based diets, they don't ever get atherosclerosis. And they don't get type 2 diabetes. And if they avoid dairy, they don't get type 1 diabetes, okay? They get hardly any autoimmune disease. He goes, gee, this diet really works. The number one cause of death is coronary artery disease, and we could prevent it. It's a paper tiger. So he stuck to his hunch, and he was correct, and he knew it, and he proved it, and he followed it through for, you know, 20, 30, 40 something years. Okay, that's heroic. But I wouldn't call Esselstyn some polymath genius, okay? I think Esselstyn kind of was gullible and got tricked into recommending flax. I don't think he knows what he's talking about on that. He said for something like for the fiber or your omega-3s, that you don't need flax for fiber or omega-3s, okay? It's like 60% fat, it's estrogenic, it's goitrogenic. You can get plenty of fiber easily, you get plenty of omega-3s without it. So I think he just, you know, kind of screwed up on that. But Esselstyn's heart in the right place. He deserves, like, you know, to be one of the all-time super greats in nutrition. He really does. But he'll never be allowed in the textbook. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is everybody knows sat-fat's bad. There's a million mountains of data showing you how sat-fat's bad. But just so you know, too, omega-6s have been proven bad a long time ago. Meyer Friedman and Ray Rosenman showed they cause more blood sludging than sat-fat does, which means they're going to cause hypertension. And of course, they're liquid fat. They're going to cause obesity. The obesity leads to hypertension, systemic inflammation, and increased diabetes, okay? You know, they're going to make tissue hypoxic. They're going to increase the risk of cancer. The mechanism is right there. They cause lipid peroxidation. They're typically lipid peroxidized before you put them in your mouth, okay? And they're very vulnerable to more lipid peroxidation in your body. Tetsumori Yamashima, MD, PhD, Japanese research to figure out why so many Japanese become demented these days. He figured out that the number one reason was the omega-6 oils. And he talked about how they get converted into hydroxynonenal, the toxic aldehyde, and how that has tons of destructive problems. It damages brain cells, causes neurodegeneration. The whole calpain-cathepsin theory, you know, binding to the heat shock proteins, making them more attracted to calpain. Calpain destroys the heat shock proteins. Then your lysosomes can't be stabilized. Your lysosomes burst apart, auto-digest the cell. You lose your brain cell. Okay, it makes you stupid. He found out it also increases your risk of diabetes and destroys pancreatic cells. It destroys cells in the hypothalamus of the brain, including the hunger center, making people predisposed to permanent obesity. Okay, omega-6 oils are a totally processed, lipid peroxidized, fake thing, okay? There's nothing good about them at all. And the fact that Viva and some other people would say so, that's ridiculous, okay? And Viva ain't stupid. When somebody's stupid and they say something, I just say it's because they're stupid. When somebody's lazy and they say something, I think it's because they're lazy, okay? Like, there's people who I think are good. I like Christy Funk. I think she's good. I think she means well. I think she really wants to help her patients. But I think she's a little bit lazy when she goes around saying soy is a good thing. I don't think she's done enough reading on the subject. Because when you read more about soy, you read the old papers. You don't want it. You don't like soy, okay? And you read the modern papers more carefully, as I have done, you don't want soy. It damages the reproductive tract. It's super fat, 40% fat. Goitrogenic. No can do. All right. So what I'm trying to say, there's a difference, okay? And, T. Colin Campbell, in my opinion, yeah, the guy deserves a Nobel Prize. He's done a lot more to help people by figuring out animal protein is a major carcinogen than, so that's Nobel Prize work. But they'll never give it to him. They don't want people to know that, okay? He'll never be allowed in the textbooks either. Neither will Esselstyn, neither will McDougall, neither will Kempner or Pritikin, neither will I, okay? That's just a fact. All right, but, what do I think about Campbell? I think he's a bit of a one-trick pony too. Why didn't he talk about, all the problems of fat? He sort of just let that one go. Okay, so he was awesome, in his work on protein, but, he's a supporter of the Democratic Party. Okay, how can a white Christian guy support the Democratic Party when their goal is the Jenna, then what side of white Christian men? Okay, that's not a sign of high intelligence, that anybody who's a Christian and says they're a Democrat, that's like saying, I believe that I should be genocided. Okay, that's like stupid, all right? All right, so anyways, let's see what else. Omega-3 PUFAs associated with prostate cancer, atrial fibrillation, lipid peroxidation. Oh yeah, so the omega-3s, they're associated with increased risk of prostate cancer. That's been repeatedly shown. Increased risk of atrial fibrillation, several different papers showing that. Of course, lipid peroxidation problems. That's why you put it in a radio-opaque thing, stick it in the fridge, because it peroxidizes so fast, and it's often peroxidized when you buy it, meaning it's rancid. Concerns about contamination with mercury. Jeff Nelson's review of the literature says it doesn't even get into the brain, so the whole thing's a fake. Brian Peskin, another researcher, says it has a negative effect on mitochondria. It seems to, according to his research, that people are overdosing with these supplements in EPA and DHA, according to him. Okay, what I'm trying to say is you get enough omega-3s packaged by nature. Why would you want to take them this way? So I'm just saying this whole fat recommendation thing's a joke. I'll show you some more, but remember that. Curing all the diseases, Kempner emphasized getting fat down as low as possible, and he got it down to 3%. Okay, the high-fat phony diet, I just gave you the numbers on it a day or two ago, and it's coming out to about 40% of calories from fat. I gave you nice numbers, trying to make them look good and to be fair. When, Walter Willett, the guy from Harvard comes on, he says he eats nuts 3 times a day. So he's eating way more nuts than what I used as a theoretical version of the diet. In the PrediMed study, they were taking 4 tablespoons of olive oil a day. In Ivy League Nutrition, it's basically jokes. Jeff Nelson has multiple videos about this showing how their conclusions are ridiculous. And, did I see them get paid off? No, but I have to think, from what I've seen in the conclusions, I don't trust their papers. Not at all. Zero. None. Okay, Dr. McDougall said the nut industry paid off the Seventh-day Adventist studies to make nuts look good. That's right out of Dr. McDougall's mouth. I saw his videos on that. The corporations have billions of dollars. They can easily buy these scientists and internet influence. Easy. Jeff Nelson said people promoting olive oil, some of them were getting over $1 million a year to promote olive oil. So if you're a high-ranking physician, you can get onto a committee and get olive oil put into some standard recommendations, get it taught at nutrition courses for doctors, get it taught in the curriculum for dietitians. That's worth, many millions of dollars to those companies. And these are billion-dollar products. Okay, same thing about these nonsense people preventing, caffeine, coffee. It's going to raise your blood lipids. It's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to pee out your magnesium. It's going to make your hypertension worse. It's going to decrease your ability to sleep. It's bad in numerous ways. Okay? But in order to get on the high-fat phony circuit, you got to promote that stuff. And it's even worse if you go on the bro science circuit. But bro science circuit is even more celebrity status and money. And then the stupid pros, trust them. The way the pros think is, the pros think, why would anyone lie to me? I'm a good person. No one gives a shit about you, okay? You have to understand, there are 2 major theoretical ways to view the world. There's obviously many more than this, but there are 2 basic ways things go down in the modern world. You can either be a Christian, which says I'm answerable to Jesus Christ. I have to do what is right to the best of my ability, and Jesus Christ said, that which you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. So you don't screw over all these poor, helpless people, which is most people are poor, helpless, stupid, ignorant, and completely have no ability to figure things out on their own, okay? That's the vast majority of people. So you don't abuse them, okay? You tell them the truth. You try to help them out. If they're too stupid, you can't do much, but you try, okay? Whereas atheistic Darwinism says, hey, there is no God. There is no moral foundation. There are no rules. People are just talking monkeys, talking apes. We have no obligation to each other. Just get what you can for yourself. It's survival of the fittest, okay? And if people are stupid enough to drink tap water with fluoride, aluminum, and atrazine in it, they deserve to be sterilized. They deserve to have their IQs lowered. They should not reproduce, okay? They're stupid lowlifes, all right? If people are stupid enough to eat these omega-6 oils and all this other crap and olive oil, then that's their own fault because they're a dumbass. They deserve to suffer. It's not my problem. I'm not obligated to tell them the truth about anything. They can go screw themselves. Am I my brother's keeper? Cain and Abel. Okay, why should we help each other or care about each other if there are no rules, there are no morals, there is no God? Okay, why not? Why not be like Andrew Huberman? Take your supplement money, your sponsor money. You can have 5 girlfriends. You can do whatever you want. Okay, why be a chump like me? Channel's not monetized, ostracized, censored. Okay, get almost 0 views, not welcome anywhere. Why go through life being hated when you could be loved and you could be rich? Makes it easy to get laid. Then you can quit your stupid, boring day job. I have to keep my day job, okay? Because I don't make money with this, okay? So if you start sponsoring stuff, you can make so much money. Notice, one of the things you notice, go ahead and study the high-fat phonies. What you will see is the more well-known ones, they've quit their day jobs. They get so much money from sponsors and promotions and selling stuff, they don't need to work in some stinking day job. They're rich, okay? Whereas, relatively speaking, I'm poor in comparison with those guys. I have to work, okay? Okay, what else? Yeah, you get a lot of good stuff. Let me just go through a couple more things just to make it clear how obvious all this stuff is. Some of this I talked about before, but just briefly, just to make it clear, there's nothing ambiguous about it, okay? In all these healthy populations like the Okinawans and stuff, they're not taking supplements, eating all these nuts and seeds and olive oil, coffee, tea, flax, avocados, omega-3 supplements. And then people say, oh, well, I looked up AI. AI says Mediterranean diets. AI is a joke. It just looks for consensus. It will say whatever the conventional experts tell it to say. It has no brain. It has no values. It has no morals. It has no sense of right and wrong. It's just a fast computer. Walter Kempner, simply feeding people white rice, fruits, and a multivitamin, 3% of calories from fat, 4% from protein. He cured all the major Western diseases. And what people don't understand, you get older, you are fragile. You cannot bullshit around or you will crash and burn. You'll hit tipping points and you're screwed. I have people call me up, friends, and they're like, well, you got advanced stenosis in their coronary artery stent. It's harder to help somebody when they're that far down the road, okay? What else? Ansel Keys, we talked about him studying 25 populations. We talked about William Roberts, how coronary artery disease is always diffuse, meaning that it could go at any time. Plaque rupture, thrombosis, dead, okay? So you can't mess around with that. Reduce all your dietary fat. Minimize your dietary sodium. Don't mess around. I mean, if you want to play it safe, why not be like these people? They don't ever get coronary artery disease. The Yanomamo, the Tarahumara, they don't get any coronary arteries. They don't get hypertension. They don't get diabetes. You tell somebody to eat a Mediterranean diet, that's what most people say they're eating, is a Mediterranean diet. And that's what the high-fat phonies are telling people to eat, is the Mediterranean diet. And they even allow some fish, like that recent book. They even allow some fish, and then they start allowing a little turkey, encourage all these oils, nuts and seeds. You're talking about fat over 40%. That's insane. Okay, that's a recipe to create atherosclerosis. And it's not just the human research and the migration studies and the epidemiology, the Armstrong monkey study. The more fat you feed the monkeys, the more atherosclerosis they get. You reduce the fat, the atherosclerosis goes away. Cyrus Kumbada doing his research on diabetes. What do you feed an animal if you want to cause diabetes? You feed them fat, especially sat fat, but you feed them fat. David Blankenhorn, whatever fat you fed them, including the omega-6s, the PUFAs, you cause coronary atherosclerosis. You cause atherosclerosis. You stop feeding them fats, you reduce all fat, all lipids lowered, and you reduce atherosclerosis, okay? McDougall, he said, fat's the biggest toxin in the Western diet. It's the biggest poison in the Western diet. Fat, remember that. He said the fat you eat is the fat you wear. The higher the percentage of calories from fat, the fatter the population. The fatter the population, the more hypertension, diabetes, coronary artery disease, premature death, okay? It's a fact. The more cancer. Okay, it's a loser in every way. Caldwell Esselstyn reviewed all the oil studies, and every single one of them, the oils were bad for health, okay? And, olive oil, you call it extra virgin oil. It sounds like, your new virgin bride in the bed, but it's a better lubricant than a food. It's not a food. It's a processed thing. You shouldn't be eating it. Nathan Pritikin, after a thorough review of the literature, he came to the conclusion fat is bad. They're all bad. He came up with the lipotoxemia theory. He thinks fat is the main cause of disease in the Western world by far. He explained how it's a mechanism to cause cancer, diabetes, atherosclerosis, and many other diseases, autoimmune diseases as well. Okay, we talked about the epidemiology. In Kenya, the black people, when they were eating plant-based diets, they had no hypertension. 1,800 consecutive admissions to a hospital, 1929, Lancet Journal, author Donison. There was not a single patient hypertension. The average blood pressure in a 60-year-old black male in Kenya in that time was 105 over 67, next to nothing, okay? Same as a 10-year-old kid. Papua New Guinea eating 93% of their calories from sweet potatoes. They're robust and fit. Okay, my own experience, I had the same experience. When I minimized my dietary fat, all my health problems went away. Back pain, lower extremity neuropathy, obesity. Asians, show me a rice eater, a white rice eater, I'll show you a skinny person. Rice Swank, Gregory Sloop, showed how all the fats in the blood cause blood floods, the chylomicrons, the LDL cholesterol, and the triglycerides. We talked about migration studies. As soon as you westernize the diet, start allowing all this stuff, oils, okay, and meats, you got a fat sick population. Okay, and remember that they were allowing fish with their Mediterranean diet, and then they start sneaking in poultry, a little chicken, a little turkey. Okay, have some wine, have some alcohol. I mean, what does the Mediterranean diet forbid? The only thing it really forbids is processed food. That's not much. That's not enough. Just cutting out the processed food will help you, but that's not enough to get healthy. And especially when you're older, you're more fragile. You got to go all the way. Okay, I've had a lot of people tell me if they don't cut rid of the fat from the nuts and the seeds, they still have problems with atherosclerosis or hypertension or obesity. Okay, let's see, what else? Well, that's pretty much it. You got there's always more. You got to filter your water. There's other things you do. But what I'm trying to say is this whole high-fat phony stuff about all these good fats, it's nonsense on stilts. It's a corporate group just BSing you, okay? And, if you're stupid enough to believe them, then you're an idiot. That's not my fault. I'm giving you a chance, okay? Why should they help you? Why should anyone give a rat's ass about you? You are just a peasant. As far as the billionaire perverts who run the world are concerned, your life is meaningless. The world's overpopular. It's better if you get fat, sick, and stupid and die sooner than live longer as far as they are concerned. So eat this crap, buy our drugs, and shut up. That's what they want you to do. And so what I'm saying is once you realize that no one cares about you, their earth runs on atheistic Darwinism, okay, and the powerful people hate the peasants, they hate the Christians, they hate the little guy, okay, then you realize you're on your own. Nobody's going to protect you. There are no regulatory agencies that are going to protect you. Organic's better than non-organic, but it's still not perfect. It's the best you can do unless you grow your own food. You're on your own. All you can do is learn. And then you have to ask yourself, why should I believe this or that? And what I can tell you is because it's all consistent. It's consistent with the epidemiology. It's consistent with the migration studies. It's consistent with the monkey studies. It's consistent with the patient populations of the guys we talked about, with other research studies. And you'll find it's consistent with your personal experience if you give it a couple months try. Okay? And don't kid yourself. All these internet BS artists, they're getting a lot of money to lie to you. Okay? I kind of want to become the best doctor in the world, and I want to be remembered as one of the all-time greats. So I have to tell the truth, and I'm a Christian, okay? But I don't make any money for this, okay? And I do it more because of my ego than because I care about anybody. I mean, I wish you well, but, in my experience, most of the pros are hopeless. I mean, I try to help them, but they're hopeless. They don't get anything. You can't explain anything to them because they're too lazy to follow up on it and read and watch these videos. The people watching these videos on the internet, these are much smarter than the average pro. These are intelligent, motivated people, okay? That's not the regular public. The regular public is clueless. They use toothpaste with fluoride in it, okay? Anybody does that doesn't know very much. All right, well, anyways, there it is. I hope you found that helpful.